Okay, but you do what a lot of Republicans do. You talk about his tweets and his style. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the person who is the leader of the country at a time of crisis. And
Hmm.
we have to go through what he actually has done. This is important stuff. It's about life and
Yeah.
death, and it's about our economy and everything that's really important. It's not tweets and it's not style. Let's just go through the timeline, okay? Because
Okay.
he was warned. This did not have to happen. Alex Azar, his Health and Human Services guy. January 18th, he warned him about this. And again on January 30th, Trump said he was being an alarmist. Peter Navarro, somebody else who talks to Trump a lot, told him directly January 29th, you got to get ahead of this.
And
February 10th,
2 days later, he implemented a restrictive travel ban from China, which he was widely
no,
criticized for.
I,
That same
well,
day, on January 31st, Nancy Pelosi proposed the No Ban Act, which would be congressional limitation on what President Trump's actually able to do with that travel restriction.
okay, but I mean, he lies about that. He, first of all, he
Well, how does he
didn't.
lie about it? What do you mean?
He said he stopped people coming in from China. He did not. He said he
Well,
was ahead of it. 43 countries did it before we did. There are still people coming in from China. He only stopped
yeah,
foreign
yeah. Okay,
nationals.
let me address that because I know that's what people are saying right now. But the reality is, yeah, it was about 40,000 people came in after that. These were U.S. citizens and green card holders and passport holders being repatriated. U.S. citizens. So you have to make the
Yeah.
argument then that we shouldn't allow them in. And I mean, it sounds to me like you're fully agreeing with President Trump on this when everybody else disagreed with him. And
No,
and if you're saying that you wish that travel restriction had been more extreme, okay, fine. I mean,
well,
you apparently had the foresight back then, but when nobody else did. But the
let,
fact is,
okay.
if Joe Biden was in charge at that moment, he's already said he wouldn't have done it. He criticized it at the time. Nancy Pelosi actually proposed legislation to stop it.
Okay,
So,
but people are still coming in from China. It wasn't just foreign nationals, but let's get off that. Let me just go back to the timeline for a minute. February 10th, after these warnings, he says it's going to go away in April with the heat because he had a hunch. February 25th, he goes to India. This is 4 days after the White House coronavirus task force said we're
mhm.
going to have to lock down the country. And Dr. Nancy Messonnier, who's in charge of the Center for Immunization
So,
and Respiratory Diseases. Wait a second, let me just finish. She
all right.
announced this on the 26th. He on the 25th that we are going to have to lock down the country. He said the next day 15 people have it, and it's soon going to be close to zero. March 6th, he said anyone who wants a test can get it, which is still
Okay, let me
completely
stick to February
completely
as you go
wrong.
forward,
I,
because you
I,
mentioned February 25th. The day before, February 24th, that's when the administration requested $2.5 billion from Congress to fulfill, CDC, NIH, and FDA funding to combat the virus and the potential spread of it. What happened right then? I'll tell you because I was in Congress and I know what happened. Did we vote on a supplemental funding bill? No. Did we wait days to vote? No, still didn't vote on it. You know what we voted on later that week? Nancy Pelosi, the only thing she would put on the floor to vote on was a bill to ban flavored tobacco. That's what actually happened. It was only a week later that we actually voted on the supplemental funding that the administration requested. Your criticism appears to be based in one thing, that Trump was overly optimistic. That's his style. Again, you can criticize it. That's fine. But it's not
well,
connected to the actions that were actually taken. Because if I back up even further, February 14th, CDC announces ongoing work with 5 laboratories to perform community-based influenza surveillance and study the spread of the virus. We're in a fact-finding mode in February. People forget this.
we
People keep
weren't.
calling February this lost month,
The
but it's
world
really
knew.
not. That's an easy and cheap accusation because there's no big, bold moves taken like there was in January or like there was in March. But the reality is our government was working to create that test. Now, did they work as fast as we would have liked? And of course not. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which I'm happy to go into. By March 3rd, there was only 102 cases in the United States. And yet I'm hearing criticism that we should have been locked down weeks earlier. But would you think the American people would have accepted that with only 100 cases in the United States? Italy didn't lock down until March 10th. Spain not until March 14th. UK not until later in March. Places like Sweden's never locked down. And so I provide all of that context as we try to basically accuse this man of well, he's being accused of having blood on his hands, and context is so important here.
Well, it is. And also, it's not just about being optimistic, it's about being right. The world was aware of this. And since when does America take its lead from Italy and Spain?
Well, because those are where the outbreaks were
I
happening, right?
understand.
Well, I'm pointing it out again for context.
But
It's if we're going to criticize somebody's actions, we have to do it in the context of the facts they knew at the time. And so I'm just trying to be fair here. That I don't really care about defending him or his actions. I just care about letting people know the
well,
truth. And when people make these accusations, I have to ask them a question: is the goal to make Trump look bad, or is the goal to get to the truth? Because there's two different sets of answers for that.
okay, but sometimes they converge. Sometimes the truth is that somebody who says, I
If
have
they
a
converge, they
hunch,
converge.
I have a hunch this is going to go away. Is that someone you would want to have served with? I mean, my God, I don't
Yeah.
understand
Well,
again why
actually,
someone with your resume, you were in Fallujah for God's sakes. Would you want
so
someone,
yeah.
a commander, to say that to you, to blame everybody else if something goes wrong, and then to
I
say,
don't think
you know, I
it's
have a hunch the
yeah.
enemy's not going to be in there. Let's attack.
Sure, no, I understand that. So here's how I would describe my answer to that. When bullets are flying past my head, I don't need to raise my voice. And I write about this in my book too. Calm breeds calm, panic breeds panic. Um, you know, being an optimistic, positive, and exuding positivity and calmness in crisis is exactly how we ask our SEALs to lead. Now, I'm not sure I see a lot of evidence for blaming others, maybe blaming China, although there's a lot of evidence for that. So maybe that's a good place to lay blame. But I
I did
haven't
it
seen
last
Trump
week.
blaming, Democrats here, or he's exposing hypocrisy, and maybe we're confusing that with blame. But no, I mean, again, calm breeds calm, and that's how we would lead in the SEAL teams.